Welcome to On the Edge, brought to you by Elite Sales Edge with your host, Stephen Brown. In the series, Getting to Know Your CXOs, we'll be diving deep into conversations with various C-level executives. We'll explore the formidable challenges they encounter, the critical decisions they make, and the lessons that have left a lasting impact on them. Sit back and prepare to gain some insightful knowledge from the leaders who shape the business world.
Hello, I'm Stephen Brown with Elite Sales Edge, and this is the podcast On the Edge. And this is our series, Getting to Know Your CXOs. Today, my guest is Martyn Etherington. Let me tell you a little bit about Martyn. Today, our guest is Martyn Etherington. Martyn was named Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of BMC Software, Inc. in August 2022. Before joining BMC, Martyn was the Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at Teradata, Inc. He was responsible for strategic marketing, brand and reputation management, digital and social media, customer demand generation, influencer marketing, public relations communications, and customer experiences. During his time at Teradata, he led the company through a brand, marketing, and cloud transformation. In prior roles, Martyn was also the Chief Marketing Officer for Cisco Jabber, where he is responsible for driving global marketing. He has also served in marketing leadership at Danaher and IBM. Martyn is an industry-recognized marketing executive with an outstanding record of driving revenue, market share, and brand growth. He's a marketing transformer who builds world-class global brands and teams. With a focus on sales alignment, he has consistently delivered tangible and measurable results that contribute to overall company growth. The Economist has recognized him as one of the top 25 social business leaders. Forbes has named him as one of the top 50 marketers, and the Internationalist has called him one of the top international marketers. Martyn is an advisory board member of Saïd Business School, University of Oxford, Wharton Customer Analytics, and the Chief Marketing Officer Council. Martyn, welcome to the show.
Stephen, good to be here, and that's some intro for sure. I guess you get to my age and the intros get longer and
Let's
longer.
jump right into it. So a person is starting their first posting as a CMO. What do you think are the most important things a CMO needs to do in their first month to start off on the right foot?
Yeah, I think even before the first month, it's actually the pre-boarding, or actually during the interview stage, will set you up for or not for success. And the questions I ask for a hiring CEO, and then also the CROs and the executive team that you're hiring with, is what would it take to get an A on the CMO report card? The reason I do that is you'll get a number of wants, but very few needs. And you really got to sift through that to understand, do they understand what success looks like? So before you even get to your first 30, 60, 90 days, really on the onboarding, the intake process, really ascertain what good looks like. That will then give you the framework for when you get into the new company to start assessing where you have to spend your time. And of course, you go through the normal things, which is meeting with the ERT, the constituencies, the customers, the partners, the analysts to form your view. But without that framework of what it will take to get an A on your report card, that's the toughest conversation to have. And you'll be surprised how many people cannot articulate that during the interview process.
So having the right leadership team and people in place are critical to any company's success. Can you talk about what makes a good leader in your opinion and how you go about building a team?
Yeah, I go about building this team with one goal in mind, and that is to make me irrelevant. And what I mean by that is you're going to get a team, it almost sounds trite, better, smarter than you are, but you've got to build a team. And I go back to my days of coaching and playing soccer. You really put in place a backbone, a great goalkeeper, a great central defender, central midfielder, and attacker, and then you build around that. You also do that as a leader. You come in, you assess the leadership, and you make sure you find your core team, your spine, your backbone of your team, and then you build around that. And the job is to really set forth a very clear direction and vision, give them the support, enablement, empowerment, and really be a servant leader and backing off and providing them the air cover to go do their jobs. And as say, you build out a good team, your job becomes irrelevant over time. And that's really how I look at building a leadership team. And it stood me in good stead for the many roles that I've played as CMO.
Well, having worked for you, I can second that and validate your methodology, sir, and definitely learn from you. But it's so true, though. Getting a good mix of people out there that complement you, add some contrast to the team, and opens up mindsets, and challenges people to think differently. It's very powerful. So what advice would you give new CMOs when approaching decision making during challenging times? Leaders today that have been in leadership for, say, the last 4 or 5 years we had to go through a period in time that there was no playbook for. So there was some added difficulty with making decisions in general, but then you add a global pandemic on that. On top of that, it was super challenging. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on making challenging decisions to begin with, and then just maybe some of your learnings through the pandemic.
Yeah, I think, irregardless of the pandemic and before and post pandemic, it's pretty simple. This is a simple one for me to answer, and that is all of my decisions are based in and around the customer or market data. That should lead and ought to lead every decision you make. And for me, fact and data and the voice of the customer trumps POV and, quite frankly, BS every single time. When you hear from people, and particularly the sales channel and other channels, my point of view is your point of view is interesting, but not relevant. The relevancy comes from your customers. The customers pay our wages, pay our mortgages, and are the ones are ultimately paying, voting for confidence in our offerings. And it's really their voice that really should drive all decisions. Okay, that sounds quite trite and sort of like a business 101, but it's so easy to forget that. And the other thing I say to my teams, like for every sales and marketing problem, test it with a customer. Messaging, propositions, points of view, insights. And when you've got your customers telling you what to do, decisions become very easy. It's when you start to try to look good versus do good, start getting in trouble. So take away the vanity side, take away the fear, be led by the customers, and you'll always make the best decision.
Yeah, that's super insightful. And today, even if you look at what happens today in most markets, in most companies today, they don't spend the time, to make those investments in voice of the customers, voice of the partner, sharing that message across the organization so everybody understands and gets that message saturated from end to end. I can appreciate that.
Stephen, I'd also add to that, particularly in marketing. How often have you heard back in your marketing days before you moved into being a great sales leader and a consultant? How many times have you heard to marketing, we need to do an event, or we need to do this activity? My philosophy has always been the event, the tactic is secondary, even tertiary. I always go back to what outcome we're trying to drive. What business-bounded outcome we're trying to drive. Does it align to a strategic objective of the company? And only then do we talk about the tactic. So many people jump into and see marketing as the event planners, the people that get to go do stuff, the all-you-can-eat buffet. But really, if you do marketing well, it's really driven by the outcome. Everything else is secondary. They're tough conversations to have, and you really need to be quite fearless in having those conversations from the get-go, and then laying out your agenda for the way you're going to implement marketing within the firm.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's you hear it a lot of times, even coming up from folks that are in my sales organization, like, well, we just need the 3 silver bullets. And I'm like, okay, I really wish it was that easy. but doing the right work up front, understanding your customer, how you're going to help them reach outcomes that are relevant to them, and value that's measured in terms that are relevant to them, not you, is how I see us making
Absolutely.
ourselves successful. So this is a topic that we could probably spend an entire podcast on, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on AI. It's coming into businesses rapidly. Can you give me your thoughts on how you think it's going to impact businesses?
Yeah, I tell you what, I think it's probably the most exciting time to be in and around marketing, or even sales and marketing, or even business.
Mm-hmm.
And people are worried about AI replacing jobs. It's not going to do it. It's going to augment jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, people should be worried about is people with AI skills replacing people without AI skills. That
Yeah.
is where people should be concerned about. Really embracing it, learning about it, adapting to it. I give you some examples. We have implemented AI machine learning in marketing to help us do better lead scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And we're using AI and also Gen AI to help get customers to the content they need very sooner, quicker on our
Mm-hmm.
website. We're using AI within our own business. We use our own products to help us run our business. So it's really embracing AI. Try it. Do try storming, experimenting. It's got to be business driven. So I say it's got to be customer led, AI enabled, not
Mm-hmm.
AI first. And
Yeah.
you can draw a line to any technology. How often have we heard cloud first and people forgot
Mm-hmm.
to do what? Which is really to drive profitable growth for companies, either through great customer
Mm-hmm.
experience, business optimization, continuous innovation. So people lose sight of the fact that all these technologies
Mm-hmm.
are to drive one thing, that's profitable growth if you are for a
Yeah.
for-profit company.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a lot of fun with it. My roots are technical, and it's to me AI is that kind of the great equalizer out there because it puts the power of a lot of things in the hands of everyone. Where
Yeah, I'll give you an
Google.
example. I'll give you an example, Stephen. So for me, I know I'm a better editor than I am writer. So if I'm looking to write some content, a presentation, I will start off with ChatGPT,
Mhm,
and they'll come back with really the outline, and then I will just do is really make it more relevant, make it more
mhm,
authentic, add my tone and voice to it, and it helps speed up my productivity. If you think that across the whole marketing function, the areas of improvement and functionality and efficiency and productivity are endless. And we're just scratching the surface right now. So it's going to be absolutely a fun time to be in and around AI for both sales and marketing.
absolutely. So you've served at several companies as CMO, and you've held senior marketing roles and probably lots of other roles. Can you share with us one or two maybe memorable experiences and what they taught you?
Oh boy, I'd actually thought about this. I thought about. Um, Let me think of a couple memorable experiences. Um, no, I think probably one of the biggest thing, a couple of things actually. When we were together at Mitel, I think how we transformed that aging brand into being contemporary relevant. We went from when we both joined, it was around about $300 million in revenue. The share price was around about I think it was around about $4. And when
Mm-hmm.
we both left, it was about 1.3 billion in revenue, and I think it was about $30 in stock price.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of that was how we transformed our business from legacy to cloud, and how we transformed a legacy brand to a more contemporary, relevant brand. And guess what? Everything we did around brand was based upon the voice of the customer, what our
Mm-hmm.
customers told us, even down to our logo. We actually had the customers vote on logo as opposed to the hippo, the highest paid person in the office.
Right.
And that really actually drove everything we did, and we transformed that brand and that company really in the 2-3 year period that we were both there. Not saying it's both you and I, Steve.
Well, of
There's
course.
many other factors, but we certainly had a hand to play in that growth trajectory. So I think that was probably looking back, and probably I've done that now a couple of times, but then we were against a very ingrained culture, in a very legacy mindset, and we really had to shift not only the technology and the innovation and the marketing, but really the culture. And I
Yeah.
think that was probably, looking back on it, one of the highlights.
Yeah, that was a tremendous learning experience because, once the branding and the messaging got established, which that took, the share of the work, but then getting that messaging out, teaching everybody. I remember traveling around the world, doing our presentation training and making the messaging stick and getting message saturation. But bus tours and all kinds of stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Let's say there's no easy button, is there, for
Nope.
that? That just takes a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of discipline, a lot of rigor, a lot of cross collaboration too. In the end,
Yeah,
yeah, that was, I think, something hopefully we're both proud of. I know I am, and I think
absolutely.
it gave us a good foundation for building our careers too.
Yeah, I'll always have a very special place in my heart for Mitel. I spent 18 years of my career there, off and on, and just great people, great company, and they'll always be there. So, just one final question for you before we wrap up. What advice would you have for today's sales professionals when engaging with a C-level person?
Um, uh, my gosh, just put themselves in the shoes of the C person. What are you going to do to help them improve their businesses and their life, and speak in their vocabulary, and do it quickly, do it short, do it concisely.
Mm.
Um, and I tell you what, the art of selling is dying, Stephen.
Yes.
I love actually being sold to,
Hmm.
but I hate being pitched to.
Yeah.
And how many times we've been talking about this prior to this call?
Hmm.
You get on LinkedIn, you LinkedIn with someone, and bing, you
Right.
get a pitch.
Hmm.
Or can I carve out 15 minutes this Wednesday,
Hmm.
knowing the C levels diaries booked out months ahead?
Hmm.
The naivety. So I just going back to learning the craft of selling,
Hmm.
speaking the voice of your customer, be relevant to their problems,
Hmm.
help them solve their problems quicker. And that's how you get into the next conversation.
Yeah.
And also remember, sometimes the C-suite are the approvers.
Hmm.
The choosers and the users, do not neglect those people, those
Absolutely.
buy teams. The
Absolutely.
users, choosers, the approvers. My job, people try and sell me marketing automation systems and things. If I was in the market for that, I would point the seller to my chooser, my head of
Hmm.
operations. So don't always come through to that C-level
Hmm.
person. Do your due diligence, work in the company, work with the choosers and users, then come to the approver at the end.
Yeah.
That's my pitch for better selling, and for the people out there to learn that craft of selling,
Yeah.
because it's dying right now.
It is. It is. And it's, to your point, I think a lot of people make the mistake of going directly to the C-level person, got to get to the decision maker. And that's certainly important. But when you get there, you better be ready, because have you met with their team? That's generally the first question you're going to get. It's like, well, have you met with my team? What did they say? Oh, no, I just thought it
Yeah,
was.
absolutely. And more often than not, if you go past the team, you're going to piss that team off.
Oh, for
So
sure.
when you come back to them, they're going to put the shutters up. So do your work,
Hmm.
work with them, and then before you get into the C level, the executive, ultimately, do your homework, do your time, and don't cut corners. Just it's a discipline and rigor that you've got to actually hone and learn. And again, I go back to selling is a craft, and learn your craft.
Absolutely. Well, Martin, thank you very much. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you carving out time for us here at Elite Sales Edge. Hopefully the audience, I'm sure they're going to get valuable nuggets. Hippo I wrote down. That's going to be a good one. But seriously, though, thank you again for your time.
Stephen, welcome, and you're a great sales and marketing professional. Wish you best of luck with your consulting.
Thank you, sir. Take care.